All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Data Magic. So we can help you know the numbers that grow your business. Today, Drea and I are going to be talking about the data magic and data analysis that we have used with one of our veterinarian clients to really help catapult her revenue, profitability, and really sanity. She was trying to get a lot of things streamlined in her veterinarian practice without, working crazy hours, and without sacrificing even more investment into strategies and things like that. So she was really getting to this place where I just want to be very clear on what is working and what is not working. And so that's one of the key things that we were helping her with in her journey specifically. So, Drea, do you want to tell us a little bit more about like where this client was starting out? Like what were some of the key things that she was needing to understand so that she could grow her business with more profit?
Yeah, so when she first started working with us, her net income was very lean. So overall revenue was strong, but that net income piece was lean, and there were many months that her net income was negative. So that led to cash flow issues. She'd taken out loans. Being a veterinarian practice, she has a lot of equipment purchases. So that puts a lot of debt payments that are regular and due on a regular basis, and then the ongoing expenses to run the business. So labor is a very big expense, having a full team, as well as cost of goods sold for any internal things that they're purchasing to service the patients, the mostly dogs and kitties, as well as products that they sell.
Awesome. So that's why one of the first metrics we want to tell you about today is so integral because this is something a little bit different than what the standard bookkeeper or fractional CFO might go over, but it's also something that is tied very closely with what's happening in the day to day. So that's why one of the first reasons we wanted to track payroll came in as one of those top key performance indicators. Like how can we manage the payroll to make sure that there is going to be cash in the bank to hit payroll, that there's also going to be enough cash resources to keep this thing moving as we were working on getting from very sliver of net income to really widening the gap and getting more and more profit margin. So Drea, do you want to talk a little bit more about payroll?
Yeah, so in this scenario, and this is where, as Lane said, it'll be different than maybe a bookkeeper would track this or a fractional CFO, is that we're really helping identify what the overall payroll number is, but that payroll number is in comparison to revenue. So what is the percent of payroll as a function of revenue, to get an idea of, okay, if you're spending this much on your labor, which is required for the services, what does that look like in terms of what you're bringing in versus having to do that math every time to say, okay, here's where payroll revenue minus cost of goods sold minus payroll minus all of the other expenses. By understanding what that percent of revenue is, you can very quickly see, as Lane is pulling this chart together, you can really quickly see where those anomalies are of, okay, this particular month, payroll was 50% of our revenue. And I inherently know my other expenses are also 50% of my revenue. So it's a key indicator of, okay, we're going to have some cash flow issues. The other big piece, this is this particular business that they are W-2 employees. So they do payroll twice a month. And there are going to be 2 months of the year that, well, twice a month, every other week, so bi-weekly. That means 2 months out of the year that there are 3 payroll periods. And so we want to help them understand when they're planning their business, that they know, and I don't know offhand what they are, but let's just say in July, your payroll is going to be a third higher than it normally is, and helping the client plan for that larger expense.
Absolutely. So, just bringing it back to profit basics, right? Like revenue minus expenses equals profit. So there's only a couple of key levers that this business owner can pull right now. There's the, hey, I can reduce cost of goods. which includes, reducing the payroll expenditure, or I can also look at increasing the revenue that my team can support me in doing. So like instead of just, one of the more powerful things I remember from my corporate days, I worked for a manufacturing company locally, and the writing was on the wall. Like that we were coming down, down, down. But one of the most profound things the CEO said was like, we're not going to save ourselves profitable. So like while this business owner could absolutely, look at ways to reduce, there was also this very clear sign, and the data was telling us this, that we also want to tighten up the payroll, want to do more with less here, but also we've got to really increase revenue so that we can get this wider gap, right? So on those negative months, they might still happen from time to time, but I need to know that I've got enough green months coming in a total 12-month period. Maybe July, everybody's on vacation and they're not coming in for their vet appointments. So like we can plan for that, but making sure that, hey, over time, we're getting more and more of this green, profit margin happening in the business. Dre, anything to add to that?
Yeah, so I think we're going to start to move to this and kind of tactics around that. So I'll let you continue.
Okay, cool. Well, so yeah, so this is what one of the things, like once you get, this is such a clarifying, I feel like, metric to look at, because sometimes, if you didn't have this purple line and you just saw payroll, like, all right, payroll's consistent. Like that seems like a good thing, right? But then when you layer on the revenue piece, now you start to see not just expenditures, you start to see the problem. Like if you could help a business owner just identify like what's the core problem in your business right now, you're already like milestones further away than most other people, because most other people are just like, head in the sand, just trying, maybe I'll just try to do something a little different than yesterday. But this really articulates where the biggest problem is, which leads us into the second biggest metric that was important to look at here. And if you're not looking at this metric in particular, you could get caught up with, I need to start letting go staff, or you could get caught up with, I need to lower my prices so that I can get more people in. So instead, what we helped this client focus on was average invoice billing. What was actually happening with the billing scenario? How many, of all the appointments, what was the average dollars generated? And what kind of data insights could we see when we start breaking this down? So Drea, you want to take us into that scenario?
So this metric is very simple to follow, but it highlights a lot of the business practices. So for this particular client, she is a veterinarian, and I will generalize, but she just certainly fits the stereotype. She has such a big heart, and she does not want to charge her clients more.
Mm-hmm.
But that was leading her to this place of not making enough money to cover expenses and debt obligations. So we do see this in other places, right? We the beauty of doing this kind of work is you can choose your type of client and who you're working with, and we work with just some genuinely kind people who don't want to don't want to overcharge. But by showing her metric number one and kind of like saying, okay, to run your business, this is what you're spending on a monthly basis on payroll, then breaking it down to, well, and here's what you're spending on your services. So here's where your services are profitable. Here's where your services are not profitable. And helping her identify, you may need to raise prices in certain scenarios. And then next is, which was a very, very big push with her, is encouraging those clients who can spend more to spend more. So there are certainly clients who come in and their dog is very sick and they're in a surgery, and this $2,000 surgery bill is like max what they can do. But then you have other clients who come in and the $2,000 surgery, although they don't want to have to pay for it, are willing to get a comfort package, right? They have the disposable income and they want their dog to have these extra things in that. And you can, by making that available to those clients who can afford it and then want to do that, that's an opportunity. So things like that of, you're not forcing every client to buy extras, but you can make the extras available for the clients who, like me, like, well, let's make sure this canine has like, the cushiest vet visit possible.
Yes, I think that was such a mindset thing to look at because also depending on where you're located. So the veterinarians, kind of out in the boonies are maybe have different pricing and packages available to veterinarians that are, in the cities, right? So she was kind of in that in between where, she was a little bit more rustic, but also a quick drive from the city. So she had a blend of clientele. And so being able, I just started this as like a extra takeaway for you guys, but like to audit the profit by service was like the starting point. So we did look at that first so that we could see like, hey, is there opportunity or opportunity and also a requirement to change pricing so that it's not going to help anybody in the city or in the country if she's out of business.
Yeah, and
So
again, with that underneath it, there were certainly services that she was making no money and potentially even paying the clients to provide.
yes. So being able to look at that to see where we needed to change prices just to, stay with some incremental profit margin. And then also like what are some add-on packages that don't necessarily cost a lot of money for her to deliver, but does provide that extra level of comfort or extra level of care that, those with more disposable income would be happy to, provide that for their pet. So over time, like this is what we would want to see is like, hey, based on like, maybe by week 3, we changed pricing on everything that was non-profitable. So it went from a $25, fee to a $35 fee. And I think we changed pricing. I don't think anybody mentioned it
Yeah.
that I recall.
She's
Yeah.
had no response to any price changes.
Yes. Yeah. So not many people are like really scouring, like, well, what was my vet bill July of last year versus this one this year, right?
Also, there's also a understanding of where she is in the market. So there was also a little bit of fact finding of, okay, here's your exam fee. How does that compare to the market and so forth? So you don't want to just blindly raise the price when you have competitors. But what it turned out is that she was equal to or below many of the other vet practices in the area.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So yeah, there wasn't really a better place for them to go to saying like, oh, well, the person down the street was less expensive. Actually, they were the same or more. So yeah, good market research performed in this scenario as well. But basically, like this wasn't like an immediate like huge revenue swing. This was something that was very incremental, like week over week, just a little bit better. Like, hey, did all of the pricing get converted over? Were some people like, did any have any system errors that we need to check in? So this is something, but it was also very important to keep tabs on it week over week so that we could see that it was improving as well. I see notice this isn't total invoice dollars. This is average invoice amount so that we could see if that average invoice amount was going up or down, because again, like you might have appointments decrease, you might have appointments increase, but overall is that average invoice amount trending upwards. All right. So the last but not least metric we wanted to share with you guys here today was also instrumental in getting this business more profitable. Because when you are working with people, you often are working with appointments, right? So if you don't have this one in place, what can happen is you will feel like you were at capacity for the week, but what actually happened is you had a bunch of cancellations. So appointment no-show rates became quite important. I mean, and I'm in the digital service world, so even I have no-show appointments, and all people have to do is like click a button and like be present. Here we're talking about like not just getting yourself to a physical location, but also getting your pet to a physical location. So the no-show rates could be quite high. So Dre, do you want to talk a little bit about what this scenario looks like?
Yeah, so again, our, our veterinarian has this huge heart. So she wanted to be really understanding on no-show rates, but over time, it just became very clear how much this was impacting the business, right? She is paying the payroll that we've laid out, but then she has these times where the revenue isn't coming in and it is too late in the day, right? If they don't show, they can't rebook that time. So it's the lost revenue. And then number two, this particular client is functioning at full capacity. So a lot of times the clients can't get on the schedule unless it is an emergency, can't get on the schedule for 2 to 3 weeks. So that's also a missed opportunity because sometimes clients, if they can't get on the schedule, will find somewhere else to go. So these no-show rate has this compounding effect to the overall business. And so it was really then, what can she do in the business to impact this, and then is that impact actually having results? So things that they started to work on was reminders in terms of how they were reaching out, and so forth. And then that wasn't quite enough, and so then they had to kind of move to a fee, where it was on a missed piece. And this for her, as I mentioned, like where she was did not want to raise prices, didn't even want to like offer additional kind of non-necessary services. It was really hard for her to make the decision to charge a fee for a missed appointment. But it continued to be an issue and then ultimately moved to a 3 strikes and you're fired scenario. But the reason that it escalated to that was really the understanding of what does this mean to the revenue and the profit of her business when clients do not show up in their appointment last minute and they don't have an opportunity to rebook that.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yeah. So this is, if you're an appointment-based, business, or maybe you're an OBM, VA, or consultant that's working with appointment-based businesses, this might be a primary metric that you're going to want to track, because to Drea's point, like there are levers that you can pull that you can look into to start making, the scheduled number of appointments closer and closer to the showed up number of appointments in the business. So the wider the gap between these two, the more in trouble you are, essentially, or definitely the less profitable you are. But it's a really good indicator as to how much more profit you are going to be seeing when you can get those that said they were going to show up to actually show up, or if they can't, that they're giving you enough notice ahead of time that you can go to your wait list and let people know that, hey, we had an opening that popped up for this afternoon. We can get you in today if you'd like. And not only does that help the business, but it also allows them to help more patients, right? Which is essentially at the heart of any veterinarian practice, and probably a lot of other appointment-based service businesses as well. Awesome. Dre, anything else you would have to add on
this whole conversation reminded me of a recent change that they just made, is that they just started moving Fridays to puppy and kitten days. So they have like a day focused to bring in new puppies, kittens for their vaccinations, their checkups, and so forth. So it just brings a smile to my face thinking that like they're ending their week.
Oh, with all the happy stuff.
On the happy stuff.
So sweet. Well, awesome. So, folks, if you are in a place where you'd like to know the numbers to grow the business, maybe it's your own business, or maybe you're an OBM tech VA consultant that is working with businesses like this, I definitely want to encourage you to hop on to one of our upcoming trainings where we can really show you what this could look like for you specifically. So go to laynebooth.com/grow. That is LAYNEBOOTH.com/grow. And you can sign up for one of our upcoming training series so that we can walk you through what this looks like to bolt on data analysis to your suite of services so that you can help your clients reach next level and also get paid better and work fewer hours. So it's a win-win all the way around. We'd love to show you how we've done this on our side of things and how we've helped hundreds of others do this as well. So check out lanebooth.com and /grow, and we'll see you there. Cheers, everyone.